Giving up is not even really an option. Man, I'm like so glad that you did the 30-day beat challenge. Like, I didn't know how much traction it would actually get, you know? Like, and so a lot of different people did it, and I've been getting messages like almost every day from, you know, people's experiences with them, and everyone has different experiences, but like when you told me kind of how it worked out for you, like that really like put a smile on my face, man.
Definitely, man.
Like when we were talking the other day outside and you were telling me like how it went or whatever. Crazy, man.
It changed a lot of things, like even just like minor, like, you know, followers, like my following went up. People from all over like hitting me up like, yo, your shit is dope. And I was like, you know, this is crazy how like a challenge kind of just brought that attention, you know? Like, I had no idea that would happen.
The next proposition is the lifetime beat challenge, where you do a beat every day. Yeah, we sit on the tracks on hard drives, and they never come out, and then we get stuck because we don't receive the proper feedback, the proper validation, and then we just kind of get caught in a bubble. Like a kind of like a whole the fucking sunken place, like the producer sunken place, where it's like, damn, man, like, are my tracks good enough? Like, no one's heard them. I don't know if my shit's good. Like, I kind of like it. Like, I liked it when I was making it, and then like now I hate it. You know, and then you really don't get to see like how much you improve either. You know, like when you compare shit you made last year compared to now, I bet it's just a million times better.
Definitely. At least I think so, you know?
And then previous year from that, even better than that, right? Some new shit?
Yeah, just something for the new year. Working on a little EP. Yeah, collaborating with other people in the crew. Midnight Dreams Collective.
So it's just gonna be like a beat tape, collabos with all you guys together. Are you getting artists on it at all?
Well, this project is going to be just entirely my production, and I'm grabbing a couple of artists. We're working on other things, like in terms of like the Midnight Dreams Collective.
Yeah.
That's where the other producers and stuff, we're all going to combine our forces and our sounds.
Dope. Dope.
And tape.
How, are you using any tracks from the 30-day beat challenge?
No.
On this? All fresh new shit?
Fresh new stuff, yeah.
Dope.
I'm trying to take those little bits of knowledge and thinking like, how can I make mine unique?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think a cool way that you guys could play around with to maybe monetize one of the projects is doubling up on the potential income of the product. So, you know, let's say you guys put out a 15-track, you know, the actual project you guys are working on, and it's on all the digital platforms, the Amazons, the iTunes, all that. But then, you know, hack into the producer market and sell, you know, maybe you sell the stems to the entire project, and then maybe do like a remix contest or something, and generate some interest there, you know?
Maybe get it on Kids So Hard, you know?
Atlas, you heard him.
We did.
That'll be easy.
I've been telling him to do this for at least a year.
You've been telling me to do
Kids So Hard is a no-brainer. I mean, obviously, we'll get it on Kids So Hard. That's a snap, you know, and it's done. But I think you guys should, create your own platform for sure. You know what I mean? Like kind of a go-to spot that people could download the album, buy the drum kit, buy the sound pack, and kind of just create one central hub for everything would be tight.
You're creating something that hasn't been done before, I feel, and it's special, man. Like,
thank you, man.
Yeah, no, thank you, man.
That means a lot. You just made my day with that.
Yeah. It's like you're creating your own community, culture, like cult, you know, following. It's just it's dope, man, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you, man. That means a lot. That really means a lot. I'm thankful that I've kind of like took the time and energy and sweat equity to like build like a thing and a voice. I think that's it, the voice. Like I managed to sort of build this voice to a certain point where there's people out there that are willing to, you know, value what I bring to the table, what I say, what I do, and all the kind of different things that I put out there into the universe. So, you know, my thing is like, you know, if you have a voice in something, it's like so crucial to be aware and mindful of like tapping into that and really like, you know, utilizing your voice for doing good.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where I'm at mentally. It's like, damn, I mean, I have a voice now. What do I do with it? Am I a dick? Do I fucking tell people to, like, you know, do I say fuck you to people? Do I, you know, I obviously I wouldn't do that because I'm not a dick, but I think there's a certain pressure that comes with that too.
Yeah.
You know, having a voice and like people kind of being under a microscope to a certain extent. We're like, what's he gonna do next? What's he gonna say? You know, and so my whole thing is, man, as long as I can empower people to just be their best self, that's kind of my message. Is what can I do to inspire you and spark something in you to be your best self? Like, don't be like me. Don't be like anyone else. Just be your best self. That's my sort of like long-term mission, you know? We should do an episode where you teach me how to use Fruity Loops.
Oh, that would be dope.
Great idea.
That would be dope.
That's
Can we do that?
I'll do anything with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just don't beat me over the head if I fuck up.
You know, working in bigger studios, it kind of just like, it took longer to create things and kind of just like sit down and listen. You know, does that ever happen to you? You're just like, yo, like,
Yeah.
It doesn't sound how we want it to sound. Go back and tweak it. Still, like, you know, but when you take it to a smaller room, you're so focused and just like.
Yeah, it's too spread out when there's a big room and there's like different people in it, and then like you're not getting the intimate feel.
Yeah.
You know, I prefer rooms like this. This is great. What's your setup like?
I was gonna say, like, when we went to Forge Recording Studios, it's an awesome facility. It's $1 million facility, but everything's separate. You think of it like components: the recording, the tracking room. Then you think of the console. Then you think of the converters. Then you think of the out gear. Everything's like separated.
Right.
And here, like you said, when it's smaller, it feels like you control every aspect of it, and it's linear. It's not like separated.
Exactly.
So my room is probably it's tight like this. That's a nuance that I think a lot of people might not understand.
Yeah.
Coming from a home studio, because they aspire to go to the big studio, but don't realize there's a way we create in that smaller space.
Yeah.
So it's not really a disadvantage.
I mean, like they say, it's a vibe, you know? Like,
It's a vibe, man.
Jay, if you're on cam, this is Jay, the video guy. I don't know how do I?
Hey, we got 5 cameras in here. Just being a part of different songs and different movements that kind of contribute to my storytelling and the story that I'm telling, which is also interesting. You know, like when I was working with, you know, like G-Unit, and when I was working with like Little Brother, sort of that story was what it was. It was me with Little Brother. It was me making, you know, street records with G-Unit.
Right.
And now fast forward, it's sort of like a culmination of all of those things that I've done, which took more than 10 years to build, right? And so as time progresses, as long as I'm active and as long as I'm releasing music and staying active in the community, then it's all of it is feeding back into my story, which in turn is sort of increasing my value in a way, right? And I think that's what we all strive for, I think, as music creators, right?
BLAP is your USP, you know,
Yep.
unique selling proposition. That's something that nobody can ever bite off of. That's your infinite defense. And I'm glad that you invested in so much about the BLAP thing, you know, BLAP-KITS.
Yep.
BLAP on, you know, I remember you from BLAP on the radio, now it's BLAP Chat.
Yep.
You know, you got BLAP-KITS. It's a line extension, but it's in different pieces of what you're doing. So it's not like conflicting.
Yeah, it's great, and it's also too, like, you know, none of it was planned. That's probably my favorite part about it is it was all just like things that manifested kind of organically as just ideas and then trying stuff. You know, and some things worked, some things didn't. Like back in 2011, I decided to start, you know, a producer showcase called BLAP, right? Beats, Love, Alcohol, Party. And it was basically just you know, a venue and then 5 to 6 upcoming producers with their laptops playing music and sort of like doing like a beat cipher in front of a crowd, and then there's a bar and people are drinking and people are hanging out. And we did it for a couple years and it was a lot of fun, but there was really no long-term sort of end goal. It was really just like, oh, this is like a fun, cool thing we can do every month. So that was great, but I'm more interested in creating long-term things, right? Things that could really benefit the community, but also just like really shake up what's happening, right? Does that make sense?
The beauty of what your message is like every day on whether it's Snapchat or your Instagram is that you're trying to warn people not to go into the box because they're limiting themselves. They think they're going to get, of course you may get a hit or a result out of it, but is it going to be longevity, like you said earlier? Is it going to have that longevity? They're training themselves to think restricted, which ultimately leads them to create lackluster results. That's why I appreciate your message. It may be tart to some, you know, some people may not understand what you're saying. That's because your vision that they don't have. You know? And to the inexperienced, the common sense is illogical because they don't see the variables. You know, they think it's linear, you know, add a kick, add a snare, add a bass. But there's variables in between those steps that they can't see. And those are the variables you see.
Yep.
And you as a messenger, you know, as a trusted person in the producer community, you're showing us those teeny variables that, you know, if we act upon them, we get a completely different result. So that's why I appreciate your message.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that. And really, it's really just all trial and error. At the end of the day, it's just a series of trying stuff and fucking up a lot. I know I say that a lot, but you really just have to fuck up. Like you gotta make shitty music. You gotta one day wake up and say, you know what, I'm gonna try to make a fucking 130 BPM dance track, 4 on the floor, just something to shake up the comfort zone a little bit. That's how you grow. It's interesting because I was watching a clip from Will Smith's Instagram. Have you seen his Instagram yet?
When he was talking about wearing the Christmas sweaters?
No, well
The working out thing?
Yeah, the working out thing and the idea of failure. I think that like when I saw that video, it just gave me validation for kind of the way I think. And really just it's a concept of like, you know, if you're trying to like build muscle and work out, the way to do it is to work out and push and push and push until you reach failure. You reach a point in which your muscles fail, and then you stop. I mean, Atlas, you know, you were a killer over at you used to be a trainer. So there's nothing Atlas never didn't do. He's done everything. So like you reach a point of failure, and then those 1, 2, 3 days that you're resting is when your muscles actually grow, and then you come back and you're well rested, and then you're stronger. You have more stamina. So when you kind of approach music making in that way, where you're striving to reach a point of failure, that's really the only way you can grow. I mean, when I was trying to sound like Pete Rock, the first 2, 3, 4, 500 Pete Rock type beats that I made were failures. They were terrible. Maybe every 1 out of 50 were decent, but most of them sucked, right? And so that's how I was able to not only get better at that, but sort of discover my own sound through that. And then, you know, creating trap type beats and then listening to like Manny Fresh and all the old stuff and even the new stuff, and then just trying stuff really is just like, that's my shit, man. Just reaching that point of failure to where I know I'll grow out of it and become better. You know what I'm saying?
You know, even me, when I first came up, like hip hop, like Cypress Hill, it's like, oh, like I wrote every word down to if I could just kill a man.
If I could just kill a man. That cadence.
I was like, you know, in high school, you know what I'm saying? So I think once you find something you love, you're gonna imitate it, you know. But for me personally, you know, not necessarily being a producer, but being in music, I started out, I mean, Illinois knows the story. I started out, you know, songwriting. Then I was in a boy band. Then I was singing. Then that didn't work out. So I started, you know, managing, you know, studios. And then that didn't work out. So I started managing an artist. And then that didn't really work out. And then I started managing producers. And then, you know, doing the podcast and doing websites and doing this. So it's just like, imitation is cool, and then typing, so whatever, that's fine. But then eventually you have to break out.
That's crazy that you mentioned that, like, Atlas sort of like trying a bunch of different things, right? Mm-hmm. That's exactly my point when I talk about reaching failure and striving for failure and trying stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, the importance of trying stuff is so underrated to me. Mm-hmm. You literally have to. I mean, if you're not trying things, what are you really doing, right? Like, it can't just be about one thing unless that's the thing that makes you happy. Right? If you want to make boom bap beats all day, every day, and that's your shit, and that's what you think about when you wake up, when you go to bed, and you can't stop fucking thinking about it, and you want to become it, and you want to be great at it, do it. Do that. I just think it really depends on how your brain is wired. Some people's brains are wired that way, which is totally fine. My brain isn't. My brain is wired to fucking try stuff, and like the excitement of something not working really, really, really that's my driving force.
Do you think that's like, I didn't mean to mention your astrological signs on camera, but
yeah.
you mentioned this like your
Virgo.
Some Virgos, I was reading, they like to be acknowledged, but don't necessarily need to be in the front. But I feel like you like being in the front. Not saying that that's an arrogant thing. I just, you like to present yourself to the world and broadcast.
Absolutely. The thing that I learned is that in order for me to empower people enough to where I want to empower them, I need to be in the trenches. You know, I need to show my face. I need to show up at a random, you know, beat showcase and say, hey, I'm here, what's up? You know, I need to be in the trenches. And I think the kicker to it is that, like you said, going back to, you know, the fun part, I actually enjoy this stuff, so.
Yeah, and I can tell you're sincere about creating value.
Yeah.
You came here and you were like, let's hold it because I want to make sure I'm getting this on tape to share. So that's a trait of like a real value creators. When you think of a billion different ways of just living your day and how can we split it up to create more value. That's why Beat Thread is so important, because we're the initial machine, and you know, the value constantly increases over time because of everybody's participation and your influence over those decisions. So that's why I respect you guys, because you're literally out here. You could have been anywhere else.
Yep.
You could have been eating food. You could have been applying for, you know, some position, but you spent the time to broadcast your message to hundreds of thousands of producers.
Yeah, totally. It's a long-term play. Everything is a long-term investment. That's my thing. Like, you know, the whole lottery ticket thing. You know, every beat you make is a lottery ticket. It's true, but you know, one day, some kid 10 years from now could watch this video on YouTube or whatever the platform is. It'd probably be YouTube at that point. YouTube's taken over. And they might hear this on a podcast or watch it and become the next fucking Quincy Jones. I think people pick and choose who they want to interact with. They pick and choose what they want to see, what they want to say, who they want to talk to. It's their human right as a human being, right? And especially now, with social media, we have the choice to do whatever the fuck we want. If we don't like something, we swipe left. If we do, we swipe right. If we, you know, we get to choose our playlist. We get to choose what songs we want to download on a particular album, you know? So everyone's got their own, you know, customization. It's interesting.
I believe in that fully. It doesn't matter how much money you make in the world. You know, what's your ultimate goal? What's your ultimate priority? If that's family, and your kid or whatever it may be, or your significant other, you're going to put them before the work, you know? So it's a matter of values at that point. And then, again, there's no excuse. I think Ryan Leslie harped on that a little bit further, which is like, he made an example. He's a genius, so he comes up with a bunch of analogies. I think anybody who has analogies is a genius on some level. And he said, you know, you make time to like use your iPhone, and you make time to go on Facebook, and make time to. So in theory, You know, we're all making these micro decisions. So I agree. Priority is evidence of somebody's intention. Build up yourself in order to have steam, which overflows into everybody around you. They usually say happy wife, happy life, right? So some may say happy king, happy thing. You know? Once the king is happy, it overflows everything
I like that.
else.
Happy king, happy thing.